On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks do nothing at the trade deadline. Wish they would have done nothing earlier, but the Mavs now, we're after KD in a real way. Should they have been? Will they go after him in the offseason? Where does the West stand? We'll talk about all that and more today. It's like on Mavs.
I'm here because I have to be here.
Explain yourself.
Sorry.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Dallas is going to get a seat at the table.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years. Thanks for being an everyday or making Locked On Mavs your first listen. Today's episode is sponsored by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here. There's no better way to make every play more exciting with FanDuel. New customers can bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. And joining me, as always, co-host, media member, the trade deadline dude, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Yeah, I mean, you think Dallas is the winner of the deadline?
Winner for most attention given to one franchise. And you know what? Honestly, in Dallas, their pro franchises would rather have attention than wins sometimes. So I don't know if they're taking after the one that actually plays in Arlington or you know.
They live by Jerry and the Adelsons live by the any publicity is good publicity.
It's working for the president. So
not today, Nick. Not today.
Too much heat. Okay. Today's episode, we'll get into, I want to talk about where the West stands now. We got a bunch of teams. The Nuggets, Rockets, Timberwolves, Thunder did nothing at the deadline. A couple other teams did some stuff. The Lakers get a center and did something that just absolutely infuriated me again. So we'll get into that. Jimmy Butler to the Warriors. Isaac talked about that earlier, but we'll get into that some more. But let's start here. The Mavs. This is their team. This is their roster that we're kind of set at right now. We heard news about Caleb Martin. And the Mavs adjusted that trade where the Mavs get an extra second-round pick because the Sixers once again lied about an injury, and so he's going to be out for 2 or 3 more weeks, which puts him out maybe 5 or 10 more games for the Mavericks, which sucks. But the Mavs got another second in that pick, but he's part of the depth chart. The Mavs starting lineup to me looks like Kyrie, Klay, PJ, AD, Lively when he comes back, and this is the Mavs team right now. But that's not what Nico Harrison wanted the Mavs team to be, Isaac. He went after KD real hard.
Yeah, I mean, you know this about Nico. He does not shy away from anything, any big trades. This has been his thing since he got here in trading, Porzingis and, trading for Kyrie and most recently trading away Luka Doncic and going after Anthony Davis. These are massive names in the NBA. So as much as we disagree and hate the move to trade Luka, he's going to go after big names. That's why I was like, hey, it didn't shock me whenever KD was linked to Dallas. It's not going to shock me whenever more stuff comes out about them pursuing him in the summer.
Yeah.
There's ways to go get Kevin Durant. And on top of that, so far, or at least all the reporting I've seen a lot of reporting on Kevin Durant shooting down a lot of teams.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen him shooting down any idea of Dallas so far. So I'll be curious. And if we know one thing about Nico too, he likes his Nike connections. And Kevin Durant's been a signature Nike athlete for a long time now. So
it's definitely something to watch. And in the offseason too, because from John Gambadoro, who's the reporter for the for the Suns that we respect his insight on them. He said that it's going to be open season in the offseason for the Suns to trade Kevin Durant because they've got to make some kind of move and move on because this team isn't going anywhere. There's no way to fix that roster. The Suns where it is right now. They dumped Nurkic. They can't really do anything with Bradley Beal. Apparently they tried a couple of different times to get Jimmy Butler or whoever else, but that's not going to work. And so they're gonna have to get something for Kevin Durant, and maybe the Mavs can give them something. And so we'll see if that happens in the offseason. Are you down for it in the offseason? Because I start looking at it. All right, this is the Mavs team right now, and they do need some more offense, and they might as well just go all in. And it depends on what it would cost, I guess. But in the offseason, the Mavs they'll know what their pick is this year. They'll have 2 more picks. They've got some salaries. They don't have a lot of expiring, so they could do it.
Yeah, well, that's important too. I've seen some people like, oh, we could just sign KD this offseason. He's still under contract for another year, so you're going to have to trade for him and match that money. You do have more flexibility this summer to try to go get somebody at that number. But yeah, I mean, we kind of did a thing on it 48 hours ago. I mean, all the days are kind of running together at this point with NBA stuff, but we did one more thing on, kind of KD and stuff. And it's like, I mean, you've kind of committed to the 30-something-year-old star timeline. You even said publicly what your timeline is to win.
He said what his timeline is for long term, and Nico said it was 4 years. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and his only reference to 10 years down the road was him being buried. So
he basically said, "I'm not even thinking about 10 years." Which, yeah, no, duh. Apparently, you're not thinking about 10 years.
Only thinking, this 2 to 4 year, 3 to 4 year mark. So, yeah, if you can go get Kevin Durant this offseason and pair KD with Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving, and that's another thing too. Kyrie can opt out. Does a Kyrie Irving opt out of his contract, sign for a little bit cheaper to help bring in a contract like a Kevin Durant? And then at that point, do you extend a Kevin Durant for a couple years to line it up with the Kyrie Irving deal and all of that? Do they want to play together again? There's so many stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, if you can go get KD this offseason and make that 3, you go get KD. And I mean, you're going for it right now either way. So you have to.
Yeah, they're in the spot where the Suns were a little while ago. You're like, all right, you're in now. You might as well go on. There's no half measures really with what the Mavericks are doing right now.
But yeah, I want to say this too. My only thing, because I feel like the popular thing that some people are going to say or talking points are going to happen over the next few months and even this offseason is there's going to be a lot of comparison. If it's Dallas that's going after KD and KD's interested in Dallas, there's going to be a lot of comparison on we'll look at KD's last 2 stops in Phoenix and Brooklyn and look at those big threes. And I just want to say that Kyrie is a little bit different of a player right now than, what Brad Beal is. And even the roster makeup of those 3 of Harden, Kyrie, and KD, it should have worked better than what it did. I mean, that was one of the biggest flops ever of those 3 in Brooklyn. But I mean, you have just look at it from, if you just want to be an old head about it and just the old traditional positions here, because, Yoda created new positions, but you'd have a point guard, a wing, and a big, at that point. And you can't tell me that AD, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving doesn't fit together, at least on paper. So I just don't think it'd be that much of a comparison to, a Brad Beal, it's big 3, and then a big 3 they had in Brooklyn for Harden, 5 minutes.
And you know what? Those teams, they didn't have Dwight Powell either.
All right. Move on.
This life will fade. Things will pass, but Dwight Powell will remain. Forever.
The fact that we're just it's post deadline, we're so the summer.
I mean, but it was the thing. But we saw what the Mavericks wanted to do. They wanted to swing big again and go after KD, and that's the swing. So will they do it again in the summer? And is that something that the Mavs should do? I think that's important to look at. What we do know that the Mavericks did this trade deadline is nothing besides the Caleb Martin deal that the Mavs could have avoided apparently because of his injury stuff. And they did obviously do the Luka Doncic trade, which we've talked about for, I don't know, it seems like a year, but it's only been 4 days.
Hasn't even been a week.
Coming up, was it a mistake for the Mavericks to not do anything at the trade deadline? I think it was. We'll talk about why coming up.
You don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks daily fantasy made easy. All you have to do is go to prizepicks.com and see more or less on 2 to 6 players, at least 2 players. You only have to pick 2 on their projections, and you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. PrizePicks even has a free pick for the big game where Patrick Mahomes only needs to throw 1 yard. If you think he's going to throw 1 yard, literally just 1, then you win that one, and you just have to pick 1 more winner, and you can win and get a correct pick, and you're cashing out right then. It's great. Go check it out. Check out the promo tab to see all the super sweet Millie winners, big game lineups. If you start a lineup that goes 3 for 3, you get a split of $1 million in promo funds. That's pretty fun. Go check it out at PrizePicks. You can combine football, NBA, college, all kinds of different stuff like that. They have other kinds of sports too. They have soccer, sometimes tennis. golf, all kinds of other things. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, what we call our listeners, listening every day. If you want to support the show, text us. Get text alerts from us on all kinds of Mavs things. If the Mavs do sign somebody in the buyout or anything like that, we'll tell you as soon as it's possible. We'll send you notes for every single game day, tell you who's going to play. The injury report is going to be a big deal for the Mavs the rest of the season still. Subscribe to our Locked On Mavs Insiders, the text line, 214-643-8637. The link in the description, QR code as well. All right, Isaac. The Mavs did nothing at the trade deadline. They did the Luka disaster. They did the Caleb Martin Grimes thing that, they could have avoided, which I don't know. It's like that makes that trade seem really bad. The Mavs didn't know, but I don't know. I guess that goes back to the 76ers more than the Mavs. And then today they didn't do anything at the actual deadline. We were looking for the Mavericks to add somebody else on the offensive end, to add another playmaker, add another scorer, something like that. There were some names out there. Bogdan Bogdanovic was one that got moved, but not a lot of other guys that we were looking at got moved. Did the Mavs make a mistake not getting anybody today?
Yeah, I thought they needed another creator, another kind of guy who can get some offense. And the last spot I did before the deadline, I threw out Kobe White's name. I would have loved for them to try to get Kobe White, which maybe they did. I don't know. Even like a Jose Alvarado, I would have been down for if they got him for cheaper, but they didn't. And I joked online. I said, it's Spencer time. Quote Spencer Dinwiddie. He didn't say that, but I feel like in his head he's probably sitting at home is like, let's go, because like obviously Anthony Davis is going to come in and put up a ton of points. All right, you're going to have Kyrie and AD, but after that, you're talking Dinwiddie. You're asking PJ to kind of be that third guy. You're just like Caleb Martin. I do believe that when Caleb Martin's healthy, he's a better offensive player on his own than Quentin Grimes is. But still, it's not like you're saying Caleb Martin, you see what he did in the playoffs? He's going to be our third guy. You're not doing that.
He's a role player.
Yeah, he's a role player. So, but ultimately, it puts a lot of on Kyrie's shoulders. Like this is Kyrie's show. This is his train to run. This is his engine now. Like this is purely Kyrie's, running the team. And Anthony Davis is going to play off him. They're going to have to switch up some of their offensive stuff on the fly, going from a Luka Doncic offense to an offense with Anthony Davis as one of your main centerpieces of that. I'm not worried about the defense. Defense is going to be great. I think it just
when they get guys back, when they get guys back, right?
Yeah. And when Anthony Davis plays and all this stuff. So I'm not worried about that, but I'm fascinated to see what does this offense look like with the new guys.
Yeah, it's a lot on Kyrie and AD. They're going to give you 25 each probably, but their connection and what they can do in the pick and roll is going to change a lot of outcomes and how they can create some offense. And then after that, it's a lot of Dinwiddie. It's a lot of Exum handling the ball. Like when Kyrie misses games, it's all Dinwiddie, Exum, maybe some Hardy. Your playmakers, you're just really low on them. The Mavs were kind of low on them anyway. We're waiting to see, all right, well, Dinwiddie continue some of his big plays, like one every 5 games. He has a good game. Okay, that was good enough when you have Luka and Kyrie. But when you don't, it's really tough. Yeah. And so, the offense is just, you're going to be having, there's a lot of big questions about the offense.
And I think they're going to try to ask a little bit more of Klay than probably what, like, he was brought in for, right? Like, yeah. I mean, we've talked a lot about Klay, and he was brought in to play alongside Luka Doncic. They mirrored a lot of Klay's minutes to Luka. He played his best basketball with Luka. So how efficient is Klay without Luka for the remaining season? With a guy like Anthony Davis and stuff, I'm curious to see how that works. And if it if this somehow kind of forces Klay to be a little bit more than what you're wanting or need from Klay right now. And then he's just getting slandered left and right because it's like, Klay's trying to be 2000, whatever Klay. And it's like,
we saw them the last couple of games even without Luka when he was injured, that they started to run some more stuff for Klay and started to figure some of that stuff out. And so they need to do that a little bit more, run some of those actions for Klay a little more, and not just like put the ball in his hands and hope that he does something, right? That one of the big people that's going to be tested in all this is Jason Kidd. The system cannot be Luka anymore. The system cannot be just Kyrie isolating. Like that can't be the system anymore. There's got to be more than that. There's got to be some extra things. You got to get other guys involved. You've got to do some more things, and you can't just rely and sit back on, oh, well, Luka will bail us out. Right? That doesn't work anymore. So I wish they would have added somebody else. There was, we talked about Kobe White, we talked about Colin Sexton, some of those guys. Just at least one more guard that I felt was an upgrade on Dinwiddie or Exum. But right now, you're waiting. All right, can Dinwiddie or Exum take a step up and be a player in a playoff series? That's really what you're asking, right? Can one of those two guys give you enough confidence that you can play them in a playoff series and feel confident about what they're going to give you? Because I'm not confident about what either of them would give us right now.
No, yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, at least you've seen Dinwiddie do it for you before, so I guess there's some confidence in that. And I think you're looking a lot at PJ Washington right now with no trade. You're looking a lot at PJ saying, "All right, at the end of last season, Nico was talking about how like we're asking PJ to get better at scoring, and we want him to increase his scoring per game coming up this coming season and a bigger offensive workload." And maybe Nico was projecting it then, the trade. But no, and so we've seen him be more aggressive at times and have to be more aggressive with Luka or Kyrie out at times. So how does he play off of, now he's moving to the 3 kind of permanently. When AD is playing,
he'll play a lot of 4.
The 4, he will play a lot of 4. Yeah. Didn't you tweet out a depth chart on that?
Yeah, I did put out a depth chart where people were like, who's the backup 4 now? And I was like, well, PJ's the backup 4. And then everybody got mad. PJ's not going to start. Like, no, that PJ will start at 3 and then briefly
Nick
play
doesn't
3.
think PJ will start.
And then play the backup 4. But the Mavs have these wings now. The Mavs have some versatility with some of these guys. PJ, Christie, Caleb Martin, Najee. There's some versatility with those guys. Klay between 2 and 3. AD can be a 4 or a 5 for you. There's versatility there for that. And then you've got guys that are set at their spot: Lively, Gafford, Klay, Dinwiddie, Exum, probably.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of jokes about Dallas's defense and stuff. If they're not elite over the coming weeks and month. But this trade, to my understanding, was designed to pair this front line of Anthony Davis and Derek Lively, and then you have the guys of a PJ Washington, the Max Christies of the world and stuff. And you will be more versatile on defense. You will be able to switch more on defense. It will be a little bit more forgiving if you get beat on the perimeter to have an Anthony Davis and Derek Lively behind you.
Yeah, both of them.
I mean, Luka would have loved that. So it's just, the defensive part when everyone's healthy will be a lot of fun to watch, or at least I think it will be. But you got to have a really, really good offense to win stuff. Like, people want to throw around Boston's, defense and how good they were at defense. They were historic offense. So it's not just hey, if you're just great defense, you're going to the finals. It's like Nico's comment, like, defense wins championships. Does it?
Does it anymore? I don't know.
I think it definitely plays into it. You gotta be higher in defense, but it feels like time and time again, more recently, we've seen the better offense win out.
Yeah, you think about the champions of the last couple of years, the Celtics team last year. You think about the Nuggets team recently. That was not an incredible defensive team. That Warriors team had a good defense.
Yeah,
decently, but that Bucks team 2021, that was definitely a team defensively.
Yeah, Giannis and Drew.
That was great. Lakers, I guess, were defense. AD, Caruso, KCP.
Shout out to the Bucks moves at the deadline.
Yeah, some teams made some weird moves. The move that you're most happy about in the West was what? We'll do that here quick. I'm happy that the Nuggets did nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of surprised they didn't do anything. I thought they were gonna get a backup big at some point. I'm kind of confused about Memphis's timing on some stuff. It was funny because I did one more thing a while back on like wing targets, and I mentioned Jake LaRavia's name because of his contract, and people just flame throwing some stuff in comments of like, you're stupid. They wouldn't. And it's like, no, dude, like this contract situation, they're going to lose him this offseason for sure. It was just weird for a team that's like going for it to just say like, hey, Marcus Smart, Jake LaRavia,
Just dumped him.
bye. Like, I would rather just keep him for a playoff run and lose him in the offseason than like, hey, I will take a second. I don't know.
Yeah, like they got assets for him, and the Marcus Smart thing hadn't been really working. He's been injured and hasn't been the same player. It's not the Marcus Smart that we remember or think of as the. I mean, he was defensive player of the year. He's not that, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was kind of weird. But that team just is so deep that they can afford to do that and just dump some guys because they have other guys stepping up and coming back from injury.
Yeah, I want to say it was Mark Spears or someone who said that, hey, there's the notion that he has gotten is teams at the bottom of the West are not as scared as the top of the West. And outside of OKC, you look at those next handful of teams there of not OKC, Houston and Memphis and even like Denver. None of them did anything. And for in addition, to like make a big swing or something like that. So you can't tell me that a Lakers or a Golden State or even a Dallas or whoever it is, that if they get matched up with a Houston or, or Memphis, that they're not going to have some confidence going into that series of like, oh, we got a better chance than a typical year.
Which makes the Luka move even worse.
Yep, it does.
I hate having those realizations. It feels like I have a new Luka trade realization like every hour right now as we go through this.
I struggled a lot with it yesterday. Just reading more reports about it, the process of it. It's just indefensible. Like, we've talked about that. I don't want to go down that route again, but
we will. So we'll keep doing it. Coming up, let's talk about what other teams did in the West. Talk about Jimmy Butler to the Warriors. Does that move me? Does that change anything? What about the Lakers getting Mark Williams? What infuriated me about that deal? We'll talk about that and more coming up.
You don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds, things that you can use to get in on the action. Isaac, have you been on since I realized that FanDuel has a Mavs-Lakers tab now?
A tab?
Yeah. It's like, It says games, parlay builder, NBA Finals, Mavs/Lakers.
Wow.
It's for the February 25th game. Lakers a 5.5 point favorite. And then you've got Luka Doncic to score more points than Anthony Davis, minus 165. Luka and LeBron James to score more combined points than Anthony Davis and Kyrie, minus 140. There's all kinds of just things like that you can do on FanDuel. Put down $5 on one of those things. You win one of them, you get $200 in bonus bets. So go check that out. See how you can do that at FanDuel. FanDuel is also the official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 59. All kinds of Super Bowl props and odds and things like that. Kansas City's holding strong at a minus 1.5. There's no movement on that at all this whole time. So check that out. Again, FanDuel.com, official partner of Super Bowl 59.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Isaac, Western Conference. The conference the Mavericks play in. The conference where the Mavericks went from 11th to 8th without playing a game yesterday. That's
just wait until tonight.
I know. They'll probably go back down. But wild how the West is right now. We talked about Denver not doing anything. I thought that was good for the Mavericks, but we'll see. We'll talked about the Grizzlies kind of dumping some guys and just kind of basically staying pat. All they did was get rid of guys. They didn't really even bring anybody in. The Warriors getting Jimmy Butler. You talked about it on this morning show, but for me, I think that changes some things. If the Warriors, if Jimmy Butler comes in and is motivated and all the things that we've seen, Jimmy Butler is one of those players, one of the few players in the NBA that I do think can turn it on and can go from, man, he just kind of looks like an average player some nights to, oh, okay, he's like a fringe all-star type player and then can really turn it on in some big moments. And for him to be next to Draymond, to have that tenacity between the two of them, the offense and how it'll help Steph Curry with his offense and all that, I think that does move me a little, but not enough that I'm like, the Warriors probably are a playing team now, and they're 11th right now, like they're on the cusp.
No, I think they got better. I mean, the fact that they kept a bunch of their other assets too. I mean, Kuminga's still on the team too, so Jimmy's better than Wiggins. I know some people's been trying to like push that over the past 24 hours, like look at Wiggins, like his numbers.
I listened to Locked On Warriors, and our guy Chuck had he was struggling because he said Wiggins has been really good. They're actually their averages, like points, rebounds, assists, like percentages are almost identical this season.
But can you compare that whenever you're considering everything that Jimmy's been doing to like sabotage everything?
True. But we've also seen Jimmy Butler have maybe his best game of the season against the Mavericks, where he just went off.
I was going to say we've seen Jimmy's ceiling is so much higher than what Wiggins
highs are still
is.
there.
And so like, yeah, I think they got better. Yeah. So something that I'm curious on your opinion on, if you just draw the imaginary line in the sand there after like the Lakers and just do like Clippers down to Spurs, that's from the 6th spot down to like the 12th spot or 11th spot.
12. Yeah.
2 of those teams are not making the play-in. 4 of those teams are not making the playoffs. And you're looking at what the Clippers, Timberwolves, Dallas, Golden State, Suns, Kings, San Antonio. So who are the 2 teams that are not making the play-in, and who are the 2 teams that's making? Well, I guess at that point, 3 teams that's making the playoffs.
I saw a great take on the Suns that said the Suns' plan is to hope that everybody gets better after they threaten to trade everybody. That's kind of the Suns' plan.
Yeah, the Spurs are at the bottom of that, but they just got De'Aaron Fox.
They just added Fox. So I would take the Kings out of it. I think the Kings will fall out. You're
not a big Valanciunas?
Not a big Valanciunas. Not a big Zach LaVine fan really either. I know that Zach LaVine could have been the second star next to Luka a long time ago, right? But I mean,
you didn't want it.
And apparently I have sway. Apparently.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I'll take them out. I'll take the Kings out. And I guess the Suns out. Man, it's gonna be tough. And the Mavs injury stuff, if the Mavs have any issues with injuries, they're out too.
Yeah.
AD all of a sudden has to miss a month. Like that. You're kind of done then. And then the Mavs are out to me.
Yeah. So I look at like the Clippers sitting there at that 6th spot. I liked some of the stuff they did today. I get why, Atlanta turned Bogdan.
Their trade thing is wild today. Can I read you that before you go into the Clippers? Can I read you like what they got in and what they sent out?
Oh, yeah.
They sent out Terrence Mann, Kevin Porter Jr., Mo Bamba, Bones Highland, and PJ Tucker. And they got back Bogdanovich, Drew Eubanks, Patty Mills, and Marshawn Beauchamp.
Yeah, so basically today you're looking at Beauchamp and Bogdan for Terrence Mann and Kevin Porter Jr. And
wild.
I think I like those 2 players coming. I like what Bogdan can do for him. He's had a weird season in Atlanta, but yeah, I mean they've just been playing good. Ty Lue, I think, is one of the best coaches in the league, so I just can never like count them guys out. It gets weird for me when it's like, what are you doing? What do you do with Minnesota? Julius Randle's out for a few weeks, but what do you do with that? I think Golden State's better. I like Dallas and they're healthy to be in there. So, I mean, what's the ideal scenario going into the playoffs? Like you're shooting for, if you can make the 6th seed, that's awesome. If you're Dallas and line up with like a Houston.
If you can line up with Houston, the first one I'm looking at is Houston because that's huge. The Grizzlies are interesting because now the Mavs have tons of size. That was the thing that Luka destroyed the Grizzlies, but the Mavs have size, and so they can match up well with them.
Zach Edey, though.
Give me Lively.
I like Edey. I think the number one goal for Dallas for the rest of the season is, to avoid the play-in. After that, well, I guess just number one, you can't miss everything. All right. Especially after
the entire postseason. Yeah.
Like, we can't have protests right now and then them miss everything. And we have protests again. I don't even know who would be left at that point.
Us, you and me.
You,
me, and maybe Slightly. Well, I was listening to Slightly's live stream today on his channel. He's on an edge right now. Like
I feel like he's on his last straw.
Mavs are one more move from losing Slightly Biased, which is that's the state of the Dallas Mavericks right now.
It's pretty tough.
A thing about anything talking about the playoffs that I realized today is you can't say the Mavs have the best player in the series in every single series anymore. That's the thing that's the thing we used to be able to say, and now it's not true about the Thunder, about the Nuggets.
Yeah, I mean, I will say
Lakers.
that AD does have the potential to.
Oh, for sure. It's not every team, but you can't go in with the assumption, oh, well, they'll have the best player in the series. It's like, okay,
you
yeah,
can't
now
go
you have
into
to look at it.
Yeah, you can't go into that, but there are some series to where, like, let's say they did, AD's at the peak of his powers, and you go into a series against OKC, and SGA struggles some. Like, it wouldn't shock me if AD is the best player in that series, so he has the ceiling of it to where, like, I think, and this isn't disrespectful to Kyrie, but I think Kyrie's just at a different spot to where, like, I don't know if Kyrie has the ceiling and for, like, hey, Kyrie's going to be the best player in this whole series. I hope he proves me wrong. But
well, what AD has both ways.
That's the thing. It's just
he's a defensive player of the year, perennial candidate. Like, he is that good. One of the top 5 defenders in the NBA.
Like, if they matched up with Houston in a playoff series, I mean, AD could very well average like 36 and 16, in a series. But let's just not match up with the Lakers in a playoff series.
We'll see.
Let's just make the playoffs first.
The thing that infuriated me about what the Lakers did in adding Mark Williams, first of all, the Lakers traded for Mark Williams from the Hornets, and everything that they gave to the Hornets for Mark Williams, they should have had to send in the Luka trade.
Yeah,
they sent another first, they sent a swap, and they sent Dalton Connect. They should have had to send all that stuff to the Mavericks, so that's infuriating. The second thing is the story that Ramona Shelburne tweeted out, where the Lakers were looking at a center to add, and they were looking at all these slow-footed centers. And then Luka talked to them and said, actually, I work better with a lob threat type center. And it just reminded me of a guy that has a car, like a really nice car, that he just can't handle, that you just can't drive. You're just watching him from across the parking lot, and he's stalling out and having a hard time. You're like,
they don't even know how to use him.
That frustrated me, and it took Luka telling you that he needs centers like that, and not. Oh my gosh, I couldn't anymore.
There were a lot of, after the Mark Williams trade, a lot of Hornets experts out there.
Yeah, a lot of people
that had some strong takes on Mark Williams. But no, I mean, if he's healthy, he's a great fit with Luka and stuff. It was more frustrating for me going back and just looking at how they still had those assets to get him, and that pick, and just Pelinka convincing Nico, like, dude, if we can't talk to him, I don't think we're gonna trade for him. I don't think we're gonna do it. And Nico's just like, well, I mean, I guess we can just take some stuff off the table.
Playing scared again.
Yeah, we can just because I really don't want Luka to find out about it. So yeah, just throw all that stuff off the table.
And that's what they did.
It's the biggest joke, man.
Slightly and I'll have a post-game show after the Celtics loss. The Celtics game, and then we'll get into some more stuff on that.
I do want to point out real quick.
Oh, you gotta say the thing.
One more thing. Nick and I will be there on Saturday, giving you all the coverage for what happens at the arena, in the game, and all the stuff. And it's Anthony Davis's debut in Dallas, so
big day.
I think that's a fun thing too. That I hope fans will be excited for him too.
Big day. We'll be there. We'll be handing out water to the protesters. No, we won't. But stick with us. Check the QR code for different ways to follow the show. Links in the description as well, wherever you guys get this show. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked on Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom. This is what an NBA team looks like.